everyone, welcome to Metaverse Atlas, and in this video we'll be discussing the compositions and functions of gastric juice. So the gastric juice is an important question in gastrointestinal physiology. They may ask you to write the compositions and functions of gastric juice in an exam, so you're supposed to depict the graph in this way to acquire more marks. Okay, so without any delay, let us go to the topic. So the gastric juice is basically secreted in the GI tract, right? In the different phases of the GI tract. So this gastric juice, we need to know the compositions of the gastric juice in order to understand the functions and the phases of the gastric juice. So in this video, we'll be going to the two topics, compositions and the functions. So let us go to the topic. So the gastric juice, basically 99.5% of the gastric juice, it consists of water. That shows how much is the water content in the gastric juice. So the 99.5% of the gastric juice only consists of water. Remaining 0.5% consists of solids. Okay, this solids is again subdivided into organic substances and inorganic substances. So solid is nothing but there are some substances in the gastric juice, like the 0.5% of the substances that constitute organic and inorganic substances. The organic substances includes enzymes and other organic factors. Okay, whereas the inorganic substances includes majority of the minerals, majority of the elements and HCl. Okay, so what are the enzymes that are present? One is pepsin. Okay, this pepsin is required for the digestion of proteins. Renin is required for digestion of proteins in animals. Gastric lipase for the digestion of lipids. Amylase for the digestion of carbohydrates. Gelatinase and urease are the other important enzymes that are required in the digestion. Okay, urease is required for conversion of ammonia into urea, that occurs in the stomach by action of gastric juice. Okay, urease is present in the gastric juice. Sorry, the urease is responsible for conversion of urea into ammonia, whereas the other organic substances include the mucus and the intrinsic factors. So this mucus, it is responsible for the lubrication of the GI tract. Now what is the requirement, what is the importance of the mucus in the GI tract? So this mucus, it acts as a barrier and it prevents the auto digestion of the digestive system, auto digestion of the epithelium that is covering the digestive system from the HCl. Okay, sorry, it is responsible for the auto digestion, so it acts as a barrier, it acts as a it prevents the auto digestion of the epithelium. Okay, whereas the intrinsic factors, they are released from the GI tract for the absorption of vitamins like vitamin B12. It requires intrinsic factor for the absorption. Okay, so all these important substances that are present in the gastric juice, in the organic substances, whereas the inorganic substances, it consists of mainly HCl. HCl is the most important inorganic factor that is present in the gastric juice. So the HCl plays a very important role in the digestion process, right? So apart from HCl, we are having sodium, calcium, potassium, bicarbonates, chlorides, phosphates and sulfates. So this is all about the composition of the gastric juice. Now let us come to the functions of gastric juice. So this gastric juice, it acts on various substrates at a various pH, at a different pH, mostly in the acidic pH. So the acidic pH, it acts as the activator for the action of the gastric juice, and this gastric juice, it acts on various substrates. Okay, and this gastric juice, that means the enzymes that are present in the gastric juice, they act on various substrates and they form the various end products. Okay, so firstly, gastric juice, the pepsin enzyme that is present in the gastric juice, it acts on the proteins. Okay, these proteins, it acts on the proteins, and the activator for the pepsin is HCl. Okay, and the end products is proteose, peptones and polypeptides. So this is the depiction of the pepsin. Okay, this pepsin, it acts on the proteins in the presence of HCl, which acts as activator, and it converts the proteins into peptones, protease and polypeptides. Okay, the next enzyme that is present in the gastric juice is gastric lipase. By the name itself indicates, it acts on fats, it acts on triglycerides, and it converts, in the presence of acidic medium which acts as an activator, it converts the triglycerides into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay. And the next enzyme we have is gastric amylase. Okay, this gastric amylase, it acts on starch in the presence of acid medium which acts as the activator, and it converts the starch into dextrin and maltose. And the next enzyme we have is gelatinase. This gelatinase, it acts on gelatin. Okay, and in the presence of acid medium it converts the gelatin into peptides. So this gelatinase is a protein component. Okay, so this is all about the gelatinase. And the next enzyme that we have is urease. This urease, what is the function of this urease? It converts the urea into ammonia in the acid medium which acts as the activator of this enzyme. Okay, so this is all about the compositions and the functions of gastric juice. I hope this is clear, and thank you.